All right, hello everyone. We are some baseball fans here. Talk about the phenomenal, what we think is phenomenal, heated rivalry. Not necessarily hockey fans before this, maybe after this, but we thought we'd look at this from baseball fans' point of view. Those that love baseball. My name is Frank Walker, baseball fan since forever. Love the Cubs, obviously on my hat here, and I'm joined by Loretta.
Hi, how are you? I'm also a big baseball fan. I also work for the Cubs. I think I've got my logo here.
Yeah.
Okay, instead of a hat on. Um, yeah, I'm like super Loretta Maloney. I'm super excited to be able to talking about heated rivalry. I mean, I'm just beyond excited. So I'm gonna try and calm
So
down.
So we should probably talk about how we even heard about it. So I'm gonna go first. So it came out back, I think in November of last year or December of last year. It came out then. I had heard about it, saw the ads about it. Immediately had no plans on watching it. None of it I thought was appealing to me at all. I didn't want to see it, whatever. So I just let it go by, let it go on. But my algorithm, I think around January or so, I started to see sports people talking about heated rivalry, and not just people that are traditionally talking about LGBT things, but like people that are regularly sports broadcasters, grown men talking about like heated rivalry. I'm like, what is happening? What is going on with this show? And I've seen people from the job posting on their Facebook page about, hey, have you seen heated rivalry? So I'm like, I gotta go and see this show. So that is how I first heard about it, and that's how I got into it. Loretta, what about you?
Well, I saw the advertisements for it. I don't feel like the advertisement is probably the best scene, like to
Mm,
really set you up for exactly what the show is like. I mean, it was cute, but I was like, okay. And then I finished watching Veronica Mars. I love TV. I do.
mm,
I love watching different series. But you were the one who said, "Have you seen Heated Rivalry?" And I was like, "It's on my list. That's my next thing." I remember I had
yeah,
watched a movie before that and it was like, meh.
yeah.
And so, I mean, but you're just immediately hooked.
Okay, okay.
Immediately you're going to
Um,
spend the rest of your day just watching it. You know what I mean? I
yes.
keep thinking about so many people who are watching this show who are going to Starbucks in the morning getting
Mm,
a ginormous coffee because they've
mm.
stayed up all night like watching this and there's no good place to stop.
Right.
you know
Yes. Yes.
yeah, so that's how I
Um,
started watching it. It was you.
yeah.
Thank you.
I got family members watching it. And my son in the picture right there, I got him watching it now. Just started watching it. So, uh, yeah, I got everybody watching it. But um, we want to talk about episode one. We've seen the whole thing, but we want to discuss episode one and probably the other episode later on. But there's so much to talk about that you're right. We should break it up. We should break it up and talk
Yeah.
about episode per episode. So we're gonna try to do that. And so again, I saw them on social media that everybody kept saying this was an HBO Max show. Actually, it's not actually. It's actually Crave
Correct.
produced it in Canada, and it's by written. The show is by Jacob Tierney, based on a book, I believe, which we have not read. I have not read. Have you read the book?
I have not. No,
I've
I
not
think
read the
there's
book.
six or
Uh,
seven, I
I'd be
think.
sold out actually. Now that I think about it,
Yeah.
haven't read the book at all, so that's where we're coming from. So if you're watching this and like, hey, you missed certain things, or whatever, that's because we didn't read the book. We only know what the show, what we saw, and if we missed something, let us know in the comments so we can go back and watch it probably for a third or fourth or fifth time, right?
10th,
um,
12th.
yes, yes. So episode one is called Rookies, and so like, when I first watched Loretta, I didn't realize that they were how young they were and they were like almost
Yeah.
19, they were teens actually.
Yes.
Um, and I didn't really realize that until like later on. So I have to go back and like, oh, look at it as they were teens. But it starts out by you having Shane and Ilya. They're outside of the facility that they're at. Ilya smoking a cigarette. Shane comes over and introduces himself. Says, which you're gonna hear multiple times. You shouldn't be smoking out here. Um, Actually, Shane actually compliments Ilya about being a good player. And then obviously You know, it was kind of awkward for a while. There was nothing being said. So then he starts to walk away. And then Ilya starts, in my opinion, starts the rivalry right there. Like, you're not
Yes,
really saying that
100%.
we beat you. So what did you think about the first couple of minutes, Loretta?
I think that like Shane specifically went to go find him. I mean, obviously, if these are the one of two best prospects in hockey in the entire world, then obviously they have a little bit of information about each other in the first place. But it must be amazing for two like high quality athletes like that to
Yeah,
meet each other, you know?
yeah,
And I think that it shows the how great is it that it's like I'm so glad it's Canadian. Like
mhm,
I'm just so glad
yeah,
Canadian and Russian because typically Canadians, and I have found this to be true, are so super nice and so kind and things like that. So
yeah,
Russians are a little bit more standoffish, you know, and that's okay. So it
mhm,
was nice that you have this like two different like spectrums of how people
yeah,
are going to be. But I
yeah,
really think it was interesting how Shane, because he's curious, but he's not really like he's more quiet for him
yeah,
to go behind whatever this was building to find him. I thought was really interesting. And I was trying to think, there's a couple times when Shane has put out his hand to shake his hand.
yeah,
And I don't remember seeing that in other episodes where he shakes other people's hands.
yeah,
So it's like kind of a connection, a way of a connection for him, you know.
yeah, yeah,
I was like, oh my God, here we go. But in that moment, I think they were more curious, but I didn't think that there was anything really there except two, you know, massive like sports. Do you know
right.
what I mean? Like
Right.
team getting together. Yeah.
I agree. Yeah, I agree. So we cut to December 2008 at the International Prospect Cup. Now, I want to say right now, my level of hockey knowledge on a scale of like 0 to 10 is probably -3. Like, so what's your level of the hockey, the sport, baseball? I can tell you all night and day, but what's your level
Right.
of understanding of hockey, the sport? Would you say, or involvement with it? Would you say for you?
Honestly, very very little. I mean, in high school, I did date a hockey player, so I have
Yeah.
some knowledge of how it works, and it's just so the movement of it and how amazing it is, like, and being around. And then I dated a football player, and that was like much more of my sport. So it was like understanding. I mean, this series is a lot about teammates and how I think that's one of the big attractions to it is to like see how team sports like that kind of get together, right?
Yeah.
So after that, a number of years ago, I went to see a Blackhawks game, and I was like way
Yeah.
up in like the nosebleed section. And then one of the times the Hawks won, I went to the parade. But so maybe that's about a two.
Okay.
Like
Okay.
I don't really know. I don't know the rules or the
Okay.
guidelines. I just think it's fun, you know.
So we're on the same page. Good. All right. So
Yeah,
the International Prospect Cup, Team Canada versus Team Russia. Ilya is on Team Russia. Shane is on Team Canada. Uh, the broadcasters actually, similar to the media now, they're actually laying out the framework for this rivalry. Uh,
yeah,
they do a really good job of laying out why this is a rivalry, two hottest prospects there is in sports, and a lot of people said to me when they got there watching the show is they didn't really see where the rivalry was. I sort of feel like the world, the fans, the media,
yeah.
they created the rivalry
Correct.
before they even got to the pros. They created the rivalry, in my opinion. What do you think about that?
I would say that's definitely true, but it's just I think athletes just by nature are more competitive. I really think that we have an interesting perspective being
Yeah,
around athletes and things like that. You know what I mean? So we have an idea of what teammates are like and what it is to be in a sports environment, you know,
yeah,
always. But I do think, of course, it's the media that like builds it up a little bit more, but they're both very competitive by nature, I feel like, but it
yeah,
comes off in different ways. You know what I mean?
yeah,
There's so much deeper to this. Like if I was trying to explain this show to somebody, which I don't know where you've been hiding, maybe a yoga retreat that you
Yeah.
don't know heated rivalry is happening. I would kind of say that one of the most appealing things is it's about sports. It's about
Mm,
relationships. It's about passion. It's just communication. It's just such a big emotional kind of series. Do you know what I
yeah.
mean? It's like,
Yeah.
but it works. I think the sports aspect really kind of draws people into it as well. Even like us, we're baseball player, fans. Um, but I think it does work. Yeah.
Yeah. So Russia eventually wins the cup. They show Ilya with his team cheering, and you see Shane gliding by with his head down. And by the way, this show jumps really quick. You got to pay attention because
Correct.
1 week, 1 month, you got to
Yeah.
jump. So immediately after the episode of Russia winning the cup and Shane going by, it jumps to 6 months later during the I keep saying NHL, but it's MLH, I believe, draft. So if I say NHL, I
Yes.
don't really mean it, but it's really MLH to the draft. Ilya is actually drafted number one. Shane is then drafted number two. And then we get to actually meet the parents. And boy, the parents are different on both sides.
Wow. Yeah.
They're different, yes.
They're both like, I will say, going back to what you said about them being young, I think that it is said at one point that Shane is actually a teenager.
Yeah.
So, and that's the thing. I remember meeting a family of hockey enthusiasts, and actually their son shipped them off to Canada, and they play really young. So they start very young there. But I
Yeah.
feel like Ilya's just a little bit older. But in
Yeah.
that scene where they're like showing their jerseys,
Yeah.
Ilya, he does look really young. He looks like really happy. And like, I just think that Shane has so many emotions kind of bottled up,
Yeah.
it's just like he doesn't really know what to do with it. Now the parents
Yeah.
are interesting. Um, I do not enjoy Ilya's dad at all. He's just a mean
Yeah.
person. Maybe that is like more of a representative of his culture, like how
Yeah.
he's just the way it is there.
Right.
Um, and then on the other side, you have like a totally passive dad, Shane's dad, who's like easygoing and just like, and then you have this momager,
Mhm.
like the mom
Yeah.
is so heavily involved with,
Yeah.
I'm not sure what she does. I assume it's something in marketing, but she
Mhm.
markets him so much. I feel like she's really not only the fact she's a massive hockey fan, but it's like, yeah, she's a lot. So there's a big difference between those parentages there.
Yeah. And they bring up the heritage a lot because
Yes.
Shane's mom and the team talking about how proud they are to have an Asian, and on the other side, Ilya's dad is talking about the pride of Russia,
Yeah.
and he's really tough. Like don't speak, you just stand there and look. We talk. You don't. He's really tough, like really really tough. But you get to hear a lot about the heritage of each. By the way, did you know already when you watched it that Connor, who played Ilya, was not Russian?
I did look that up. So no, I did not know because it was like the advertisements again that are where they're
Mm.
sitting down and they're drinking the
Yeah,
out of the water bottle. It's like it was different sounding than later. You know what I mean?
yeah,
But like his accent was unbelievable.
I know.
It was really, really good that you're just like, what? Where?
Yeah,
What? You see,
I
here's
was
this young
stunned.
man from Texas, I think.
Yeah, I
You
was
know?
stunned. And I thought when I saw him in like post production and like on interviews and the runway, like
Yeah.
this could not be this. There's no way this is the same guy. Like,
Incredible. And it's
oh,
so he speaks it so, but
yes,
so fluently and just
yeah,
it just kind of rolls off his tongue. It's like it's really
yes.
kind of incredible, you know.
Um,
Um the one thing about that scene with the at the draft
Perception,
banquet.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, with like the guy from Montreal talking to him about, obviously the owner talking to him about how happy he is that he's Asian, and I thought that was weird. Like it was
yeah.
just kind of like kind of weird moment. Like I'm
Mhm.
not really sure why that was said, or how people would feel about that. But he was so, I mean, it just rolled off of Shane because I think, again, he had so many things going on. And then
Yeah.
when the mom kind of directed him, then he spoke, but it was very, like just a response. You know what I mean? I didn't feel like there was a whole lot of emotion in it. Yeah.
So they were at the reception, and then we cut to Shane not being able to sleep, I guess, in his
Yeah.
hotel room, and then he goes down to the fitness center, where I think this whole story takes a turn. So he goes down to the fitness center and he's on his bike, and he's going at it on his bike, and out of nowhere, Ilya shows up in the fitness center of the hotel, and he gets right next to him, and now they're both again competing with each other, and they're going hard on these
Yeah.
bikes, trying to outdo the other person. So when they're done, they're sitting in the fitness center on the ground across from each other. I'm trying to describe it so people haven't seen it, but like I guess you would
Yeah.
say like man spreading, I guess you would call it, sitting across from each
I
other.
suppose. Yeah.
Yes. Having a little friendly banter. And then they show how Shane starts checking out just up and down, and they show vice versa. And then he hands him the water bottle. And when he handed him the water bottle, and and they share water, which is I guess it's okay. But when he took the water back, the hand movements of him grabbing the
Yes.
water bottle, that's when I knew things were about to change.
Exactly. That I think that was a really pivotal point in
Yeah,
like that's really where episode 1 kind of starts off. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like them just having this banter, but if you think about it, like um Ilya had kind of his legs more open, you know what I
yeah,
mean? And then Shane was kind of like sitting back a little bit with his legs kind of crossed somewhat and closed. So
yeah,
I mean, I think that speaks to their personality a little bit, but how Ilya is very flirtatious,
yeah.
with their banter back and forth. But it was him that really, like, when he initially gave him the water bottle, which was a nice thing to do,
Right.
how he specifically brushed his hand. And I
Yeah,
was
I
like,
know. Yeah,
oh, here we go,
yeah,
just those things.
yeah,
And then Shane was like looking at it was so well done, like the filming, how
yeah,
Shane was looking at him and just was looking at his lips and all this, his neck and how sweaty it was, and
yeah,
like paying a lot more attention to Ilya's kind of body kind of thing. So it was like interesting to kind of see that. Yeah.
yeah,
And then I was just, but I think to be fair, he kind of squirted the water, so I don't feel like that the champ like put his lips on it kind of thing. I don't think he was at that place yet.
okay,
Maybe episode 5, but I don't know. But you know
right,
what I mean? So it was just but that was such a great the way they're across from each other and how well that was like filmed, and
mm,
just like you just had this, and the fact that they were on the ground I thought was like
yeah,
just really well done. Yeah.
okay. So then it cuts pretty fast. It's 6 months later
Yeah.
after that, they're at the International Prospect Cup, and they're in Ottawa. And then in the hotel, you get to hear Ilya talk to his brother on the phone.
God.
And if you hated the dad, you're probably going to really hate the brother, begging him for money. And I think he called him a faggot at one point.
He
And
did. He was so
I'm
ignorant.
like,
Like
hey,
I
does he
just
know?
like
Does he know? Like, he must know something. But what do you think about the brother?
I think he does. I don't think too much of the brother. I think he's an awful human, basically. But I think it's also, yes, he did use derogatory terms. And it was
Yeah,
just like, I think the brother does know what his sexuality kind of leads to a little bit. And I think later on, first of all, the hotel room he was in was a lot more plain than
yeah,
later on, as he goes a little bit later on, and those hotel
yeah,
rooms get a lot fancier and stuff like that. Um, but the brother is so he's just a horrible person. He's like using him for his money and different things like that. And it's just I think there's a lot of jealousy there with
yeah,
the brothers. And that kind of goes into the I mean, maybe it is in the books, but I feel like Ilya's mom probably favored him. Maybe Ilya's mom knew, and then the brother might be jealous of that, like the
Well,
whole
I
time,
believe at some point, I think Ilya's mom committed suicide when he was young, but
Yeah, she did. Yeah.
the brother, well, Ilya is sending the brother money to take care of the father, which just sounds like he's not doing correctly. It's not he's doing drugs with the money.
Yeah,
He's
exactly.
throwing it
So
up. So they have a really weird dynamic. But unlike the last time they were competing and Russia won, this time Shane and Canada, they win. Then they cut 6 months later to Toronto, and they have this commercial shoot that they're supposed to be doing. They're supposed to be
yeah.
serious, meeting in the middle. The director says cut because they're sort of, as they keep doing it more and more, they keep laughing with each other and having more fun with it, and they're not being as serious as it is. So at one point, the director just gives up because whenever they
Right.
meet in the middle, they're just laughing now and staring at each other. They're laughing. So when it's over, Ilya's like to Shane, "Hey, what? How did you feel when you found out you're going to be doing this commercial with me?" Because again, it's
Yeah.
rivals hate each other. I think the mom actually mentioned earlier that how much she hated him, but and Shane's like, "Oh, that was nothing. What did you think about it when they asked you to be with me?" And Ilya's like, "Oh no, it was my idea. Like I'm the one that
Hmm.
requested you." And Shane is he's like confused as to why that is. So after the commercial shoot, it's time for the shower. Now, I think this is the part that is on a lot of commercials and talked about, and it starts from here on.
You
Uh,
bet.
yeah, you're in the shower. You see them both. They're both facing the wall. You see the back of them. Both in the shower, both naked, and they are at the beginning. They're like checking each other out without the other one seeing at first, right? So they're checking each other out without the other one seeing it. Then they started checking each other out while they're both watching it. So now they're both obviously checking each other out. Shane sort of like, he's like F off and, tries to pretend like nothing's going on. Ilya is so bold and like, he's just so bold. He
Yeah.
just turns around and he starts like stroking himself right in front of it.
Yes.
And then Shane is just like staring at it. He's like hypnotized by it. He's like staring at it. He's not saying no and like he was earlier. He's like staring at it, hypnotized by it. And then Shane gets upset, storms off, and goes into the locker room. What do you think about this scene so far?
Oh my god. There's like so much to unpack. But let me go back to when the whole commercial thing. I mean, that
Okay.
was a big deal. He could have just done the commercial by himself,
Right.
but for him to invite Shane, I thought was really a really kind thing to do. Like it was still setting things up, for
Yeah.
him.
That's a good point. Yeah. Good point.
Okay. This shower scene. First, okay, let me just go over a couple questions I have. Number
Okay.
one, is that what locker room showers look like? That they have
Yes.
like the soap dispenser on the wall, like the stuff you
Yeah.
put under your hand? I was just like, oh, is that how it's done? And it's just so ginormous.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. That's like distracted me. But the moment you see these men, I was like, oh my God. I mean, that is definitely going to appeal to women, men, whoever. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? That the physiques of these men,
Okay.
but it's so much bigger than that. It's just
Mhm.
not just about them. But Ilya is such a flirt, and he's just God, he looks so good with his hair wet and slicked back, and Shane is just like, what is happening? You know what I mean? I mean, clearly they shower with men like all the time,
Right.
but
Yeah. That's
it
true.
is a
Yeah.
little bit different
Yeah.
when he's just like, I get why he's like, they do that a lot. They say fuck off, but they
Yeah.
say it in a way that, like, depending on how they say it, what they mean by it. It can be playful, it can be like, yeah, don't go there, or it can be like where he's mad kind of thing,
Right.
you know? Um, so I thought that was really interesting. And then he's just like, okay, I can't do this. But it was so bold of like,
Yeah.
Ilya, who does that?
Right. I know.
Oh
I
my
know.
God. But
I
good
know.
for him. Like, good for him. Like, he obviously is like, yeah, he showed his intent.
Yeah.
And like, he was, because really, probably during this period of time since the beginning, he's probably kind of wondered a little bit. Um, about Shane's sexuality or about would he be open to something,
Right.
where Ilya's is sexuality is much more fluid, which I love that about him, that he's just, I love that about him and the character, because then it has more of a massive appeal for everybody else too. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And I just think it's more yeah, I think sexuality is much more fluid
Yeah.
than it used to be, or people are like feeling like they can say that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um yeah, but okay. So then you want to get to the part in the locker room then where they're just
Yeah,
like,
so Shane walks out of the shower. He's coming out of the shower and he's in the locker room changing clothes. And then Ilya comes. I gotta admit, so when Ilya came out of the shower with the towel on, he didn't look like a Greek god. I gotta admit, like I'm like this. This I mean, I
who
gotta admit,
looks like this? You
I'm
know, and he
like,
kept the towel like really
what?
low, and I was like,
Like,
oh
okay,
my god.
I get the hype. I get the hype. I can say it. I get the hype. I get the hype. He
Yeah,
comes over, and so Shannon's like, that pretend it never happened, whatever. Ilya's like, is that what you want? And she's like, yeah. He's like, Ilya's like, you're just such a liar. So Ilya walks up over to him, right up over to him, and
hmm,
Shane doesn't run away. He doesn't like leave me alone. Shane, I think I don't know. I think he's just shocked. So Ilya's
yeah.
like, the number. Shane gives him his real number. He's like, I might come by. And then Shane goes, whatever. So um, they fast forward to later on the night. Shane, for whatever reason, is putting on a suit and tie, trying to get dressed to
Oh
meet.
my god, so funny, right?
I got a suit and
Like
tie,
so funny.
dress.
Oh
And then he's like, oh, wait, why am I doing this? So he takes all that off. He sits down in the chair. He's turning the light, just like completely nervous. And then there's a knock on the
yeah.
door. And then it gets real. All right. So,
And then it gets real. But hold on,
yeah,
let me go back to
go
like,
ahead, go ahead.
let's go back to the locker room. Okay. Because he was slowly putting on that other shoe, right? He
That's
could
true.
have like put his shoes on, he had the rest of his clothes on, and he could have just taken off. But
Yeah.
then so it's like he was waiting for him to come
Yeah.
over there and just to see what it was. Or maybe he had to say what he had to say. But then Ilya comes over and like here's Shane sitting on the bench.
Yeah.
So his view of like Ilya is basically right above
Right.
his like belly button, and I was like, oh my god, that's like a lot. And he
Yeah.
just, but he knows exactly what he's doing,
Yeah.
and I'm glad that out of the two of them that he has more experience in it, and he's just like, okay, more assertive. Okay,
Yeah.
now let's go back to the I
Don't
might
forget,
open.
the transition from the locker room to him getting dressed and saying whatever. This is when I first fell in love with the music, because the music during this part right here was
Yeah,
unbelievable. Like I'm like
yeah.
this sound this is like this and yeah, I got in love with the music. So here we go. The knock on the door. Shane gets up, open the door. Ilya walks in. Shane's like, "Hey, we need to talk," and Ilya does not want to talk.
It's like that is not what I am here for.
Oh no! He literally, while they're at the door, he literally basically walks up on him, pushes him up against
Yeah,
the wall, and starts making out with him. And Shane doesn't stop him at all whatsoever.
right.
Doesn't stop him. And all of a sudden, by the way, again, I think they're still young, so this is realistic because
Yeah,
young people do this kind of stuff. Like young people, especially people that are in the closet, I'm assuming hiding their sexuality, they do this kind of stuff. This is realistic. And then once Shane gets like sees that Ilya is on the same page as him, it just he shirt off on your knees. We're there. By the way, the sounds were so realistic on this show. Like are
yeah,
they typing the sounds into oral sex or like the sounds? I'm like, this is very, very realistic. This is very, very realistic, and you cannot.
totally.
And let me tell you this: people that say that this is too much sex or disgusting or they don't want to
It's
watch it or
not.
whatever. I got to tell you that this was tastefully done. It actually fits. It actually fits the story, right? Like
Yeah,
I was like, what is happening? But not in a way that was negatively. I'm just like curious, like where's this going? What are they gonna do? Like this is insane in a good way. If that makes any sense.
yeah,
I'm like captured by it. I'm just like watching this. Then they go to bed. It was just so realistic and uh, not like I don't know if the word disgusting, but it was not what I thought it would be. Just like
you're right.
for no reason, they're just thrown in there, like you see on American shows. It actually made sense. It was realistic, And I believe I believe this is what would really happen if two athletes got together for the first time that young. I thought it was great. What do you think?
I kind of wondered that too. I had so many kind of questions about it. Like, is that really how like it's done? You know what I mean? Like, is that just like, I mean, obviously he knocked on the door.
Yeah,
Shane let him in. So there was like intent there, but it
yeah,
just went like so fast. You know what I mean? I was just like, wow, like
yeah,
good for you knowing exactly what you want. But keep in mind, this is still somebody you've never been with or
right,
never like kissed or something like that. So, I mean, I might have a little bit of like, yes, I would have a hesitation.
yeah,
You know what I
yeah,
mean? But
yeah,
like Shane was trying so hard to like, should I wear this? And then should I not wear it? What am I doing? And then he goes to sit down and then
yeah.
he's so Ilya is so cool about it. Oh my god! But you forgot the elevator scene with the mom.
Oh yes,
Oh
you want to go with that? Yes, yes, I
yes!
did forget.
Oh
Yes,
my god!
yes,
Just like I don't know with his facial expressions, like how
mhm,
he, like how Ilya felt about it, or was he like, like oh
yeah,
my god, there's a mom is there, or if he's just like it wasn't going to change like what he was
yeah,
going to do or that
yeah.
kind of thing. But like people have to be
Well,
prepared for the sex part.
what you're referring to is, for those that have not seen it yet, what you're referring to is that, so when Ilya was on his way up to Shane's room, um, one of the door opened up halfway, and Shane's mom pops in. Ilya's eyes were like, "Oh, whatever," and it was just an awkward moment between Ilya and Shane's mom while he's on his room to meet her son. That was awkward. Yeah,
Oh my god. Yeah. I was just like, so, but he obviously he got past it pretty fast when he
yeah,
got up to the 14th floor there. And
yeah,
then there were just so many things. And it was nice to see like the you didn't really have to have a conversation. Do you know what I mean? But there was a little banter back and forth between the two of them. Like, you come
yeah,
here and you do this and that kind of thing. But then they were like, okay, let's go. As far as the sex, I think that is it that much different than heterosexual sex? Do you know what I mean? That you see in series or you see in movies? Not really. I mean,
yeah.
you see a lot of things too. Maybe it's
Mm,
just like it's not as mainstream, but I thought it was done really well. And I think
mm,
that one of the massive appeals to it, besides how cute their butts are, is that there's a lot of passion in it. You know what I
yeah,
mean? There's just a lot of like romance and enthusiasm and passion. So I think that appeals to women. I
yeah.
think it should definitely appeal to straight men too, if they think about it. You know
No,
what I mean? There's a lot of like,
but I feel like this was realistic because they were only doing oral, by the way. So this was only oral
yeah,
sex. But I feel like people that are that young, 19, 20, when they're first hooking up, I refuse to believe that 19, 20-year-olds are not having oral sex. This is so realistic. I mean, who
of
can ever
course
relate
not.
to
Yeah,
this?
right, right. Yeah,
So
right.
to me, because it's realistic and you can relate to it, I think that is what carries you through the rest of the show, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, it was nice that you would imagine that that's how things kind of start out. You don't go
Yeah.
like to
Right.
like
Yeah.
A to Z, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? You like there's so many like steps along the way.
Yeah.
But what's funny was then how Ilya gets on the bed and he's taking off his like he's flicking off his shoes, which I thought were so
Yeah.
cute, and then taking off his socks and everything. And then Shane's over there and he's like folding his pants and
Yeah.
folding his underwear. And I
Yeah.
just thought, oh my God, he's so particular about things. And
Yeah.
later in another episode, it kind of comes up like how it kind of changed a little bit with the folding of everything. And he's so
Yeah.
particular. What I thought was interesting is for him, and this probably has to do with youth, but for him to say, is this okay? Like, what if,
Right.
it's what you have to offer. It's who you are. It's like,
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I suppose that has to do with youth a little bit too, that you're maybe not as, confident. But I mean, for him, this is his first time being in that kind of situation.
Yeah.
It's like, it's a lot,
Yeah.
but it was so
And
great.
also in that scene, we discovered that it was Shane's first time, but not Ilya's
Yeah.
first time. And then we did discover Ilya, throughout this process of oral sex, had to, let the way for Shane because he had done it before. So that was different. But as far as Shane, like folding his clothes, I read somewhere as I was looking at the reviews, whatever that I think Shane is autistic, I believe.
Yeah,
Um,
I heard I read no, I heard a video with the author in it, and the author
yeah,
said that he
yeah,
is autistic. So some of those uh personality things track. You know what I
yeah.
mean? Yeah,
And I think one of the
for
things
sure.
that men can really relate to, because I picked this up right away, is that athletes always use each other's last name. Like they never use first names. All
Yeah,
the time. They they
right.
only use last names. Now, usually people use the nicknames of last name, whatever. But once I saw that one, this is so well written and realistic because they weren't using their first names. Even while they're doing oral sex, they were using the sports, what we do. They use
Yes.
last names. So I thought that was realistic. I thought that was pretty cool.
And the way they said that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I thought that
Uh,
was really well done.
and then they ended with Shane being worried like, "Hey, nobody can know this," and it was like, "Who am I going to tell?"
But
So
I felt like I know he was feeling that, but it's like, do you have to say that like 60 seconds after you just had this moment? I
yeah.
mean, like he could have take a breath a second and like really kind of enjoy it and think about it and stuff like
Yeah,
that. But he immediately went to, oh my God, who are
yeah,
you going to tell? You know what I mean? Yeah.
yep. So we fast forward 3 months later, and Shane is having lunch with his parents. The funniest part to me was the dad asking, "What is YouTube?" I'm like, and I keep forgetting that this is based years ago, but it's just funny. But I don't know if you noticed that when he was explaining YouTube a bit about being in the rabbit hole, and they're asking him like, "What are you watching right now?" He brought up that he's watching Unlikely Animals
Yeah,
Becoming Friends, which made me think about him and Ilya, unlikely rivals becoming
totally.
more than friends. I picked that up. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, and the dad is so playful, like he's so kind of innocent and just kind of like obviously he's more in the background where the
Mhm.
mom is like completely all business and
Yeah,
stuff. But yeah, it totally related to
yeah,
that. And then this was one of the first times that you see the mom
uh,
be like, fuck him,
yeah,
kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like so that's kind of where it started. I don't remember saying she didn't say anything like the dialogue she had. You know what I
yeah.
mean? At the table
Right,
earlier than that. I don't recall that. I mean, you would just naturally think that they were like competitive or things like that. I mean, he's just like Billy is very playful and he's just but you know what? He also backs it up too.
right,
With
right.
that, like when he's being interviewed and he has no shirt on, which I think does happen.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh,
and then how
yeah.
he winks, you know what I mean? It kind of
Yeah.
goes back to the very first scene they had when they're sitting there after their workout and he's drinking out of the water bottle and he does like a tiny little wink
Yeah.
to Shane. And I was
That's true.
like,
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
okay, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah. So now it's time for their first ever game together, Boston versus Montreal. And Shane is on the court, and the broadcasters in the crowd are going crazy about are they going to finally give it to us, which is having Shane and Ilya face
Yeah,
off for the first time as pros together. The crowd starts getting loud. We know these sounds from baseball. You got these two rivals on the court, and they cut to Shane winning. They did the post game conference, so therefore that Shane his team must have won. Ilya lost. Um, and again, we go back to the hotel with Ilya and his brother wanting more money. Like I'm telling you, this guy's becoming an enemy.
like a ridiculous amount of money,
Yeah.
$20,000. I mean, that's insanity.
Yes. So we go 4 months later to I love the scene, the All Star game at Nashville. There's a press conference. All right, it's a press conference, and they show under the table. Their feet are both separated
Yeah.
at first, right? So the reporters ask them different questions, and they're communicating under the table with taps to each other's foot. And then one reporter asked a long question to Ilya, who is Russian and here is not really fluent in English that well.
Yeah.
It's a long, complicated question that reporters do ask, and Shane can tell that Ilya was not going to be able to answer that at all.
It was
So
a lot.
here comes the foot tap under the table. Shane jumps in, answers the question, does the question perfectly. Another foot tap with each other under the table, And I thought that was pretty cool. That was pretty cool, I thought.
It was so sweet. It was so sweet nature because that was a long-winded question, but
Yeah.
those are the kind of questions I guess they get. So it was really nice how they just like how Shane picked up on that right away, and then Ilya was like, "Yeah, okay." Like the question before that, he just answered. So Ilya answered like, "Yes." You know what I
One
mean?
word.
Like a long-winded question, he just gave
Yeah.
like one answer. So it's really maybe
Yeah.
it's not like super. You know, it's the difference between sitting there in your suits and having a like a press conference rather than like a question after a game. You know what I
Right.
mean? Where it's so much more like he doesn't have a shirt on and he could talk for a second or whatever. It's like that little blip, but this
Yeah.
is a lot more formal and
Right.
so many more eyes I feel like are looking at it too.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
it was just kind of it was sweet natured. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So we're at the All Star game still, and they're having this skills competition. Like we have the home run derby. They have the shot accuracy competition. Uh,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So Ilya breaks the previous record held by Shane, Hunter.
Yes.
What is his
Scott
name?
Hunter.
Not
Yeah.
Hunter. So Ilya breaks that, and then next is Shane. Shane breaks that record instantly by 1 second. So you have two that have been broken back to back. This is where the rivalry to the public is enforced, I think, more because you have these two battling out with each other. So then they're chatting on the sideline, and then Scott Hunter does hear, or he sees those who are talking, and he asks him, hey, what what room are you in? But Scott, wants to know, hey, what are you two talking about? So when Scott Hunter turned to Shane and he was like, hey, what did he say to you? At that point, I thought that maybe Scott had overheard what Shane was saying when he gave him the room number. But Shane kind of played it off. He's like, oh, he's just being a jerk. He's just being whatever. And then Scott Hunter says, yeah, he is actually my roommate next door to me. And in my head, I'm thinking, oh my God, they're going to get caught.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
They're going to get caught. So later on, Shane is knocking at Ilya's door, and Ilya, it took him a while to get to the door. He opens the
Oh
door.
my God.
James runs in and slams the door, and he goes, "What are you doing? Like it was like, are you being chased?" Ilya has the greatest
Yeah.
facts, and just like,
He's
so,
like, is
yeah, he
someone
goes, "Are you
chasing
being?"
you?
He said, "Like, no, you got me also like
Hilarious.
an idiot." Shane Hunter next door. So I'm thinking that Shane is highly upset for having to stand out there, but Shane's like, screw it, and just goes and start kissing him. Like like
Oh,
he's mad at first, and he's like, screw it, run, start making out, like just automatically.
yeah. Basically, he just like jumps at him. He's like,
Yeah,
fuck. And then he just runs at him, which was like so passionate to
yeah,
do. I think that, like, okay, going back to that scene, you're not sure. You're not really sure. Did Scott
right,
Hunter hear him? Did he not
yeah,
hear him? I mean, they probably, because Ilya has such a reputation for being kind of like, doesn't get along with people and things like that. And he's tough and he's an asshole, like he
right,
says himself,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
So he was probably just being curious
yeah.
and kind of wondering like what was that about or whatever. But like, oh my, to me, I'd be like, what?
Yeah.
Or if like Ilya knew that Scott was next to him. Do you know what I mean? I don't know. But either way, like
Well,
yeah, I mean, Ilya has funny lines like that. Like, is someone chasing you? Is someone chasing
yeah.
you? Like,
Yeah. So they get to the bed, and um, Ilya wants to go. They're doing oral, but Ilya wants to do the next thing. He wants to have actual sex, right? So,
yeah.
uh, Shane is concerned because the Scott Hunter is next door, and Ilya's like, "Okay, I'll let him hear it." Like,
Mm-hmm.
maybe I want him to listen. I want him to hear it. Um, and Shane's like, "Nope, not here, not at all." Um, so, Shane Ilya brings up that they're going to be in the same city at some point or whatever, and um,
In
you
two
know,
week I think it was.
right,
Like in
yes.
2 weeks.
So, and it's like, yeah, but where are we going to do it? And then, so Ilya goes, "Are you homeless?" Like,
Yeah. I thought that was like, "Are you homeless?" And he's
Yes,
like, "No,
dude,
no,
I
I
love
have
him.
a. Don't do you have a house? No, I have an apartment." That's what's funny is that like
Yeah,
that's that like how Shane's like he could have left it at that and said
yeah,
yes I have a house, but he's like, well, it's an apartment. Like that's where he's just being so totally serious. Okay,
right,
going back to this whole situation though, like since the first time they were together, I think a really important part, which probably has more to do with the author of this book being female,
uh,
and I'm not sure when exactly these books were written, but there's a significant amount of consent, like
yeah. Oh
Ilya
yes,
saying,
yes,
which I think is really like so awesome. Like,
right,
is this okay? Are you okay with this? Is this, are you scared? Are you this? So I think that's really important communication for them
right,
to, they're not communicating about everything, but Ilya is like very much
yeah,
caretaking in that way. I mean, I think that's really, people should do that. Do you know what I
yeah,
mean? I
yeah,
mean, at that point where Shane was like, fuck, let's go.
right,
You know, kind of thing. I mean, that was a little different, but it's still like, it's still a new process,
right.
to them. So I think that's important.
And these are two again. These are two world class athletes, uh, top of their game.
Yeah.
Drafted one, drafted two. These are not just like some average Joes who are just playing street hockey. These are like the best of the best.
Yeah.
Uh, Having this thing going on behind the scenes, which I think is really cool. I think the way it's laid out. So then Shane doesn't know how to say it, but he's like, okay, well, he's trying to hint at, well, how are we going to meet to get to my house? And then Ilya's like, oh my God, you're so boring. So he gets up, he grabs his, takes his phone, and he puts in his number and both the phone, but they have these nicknames for each other. One is Jane and one is Lily. I'm assuming that Jane because it rhymes with Shane, and Lily because it's similar to Ilya. I'm assuming.
Oh my God. I never thought about that.
Yes, I'm just assuming
Oh, that totally makes
about
sense.
the name. So we go with Jane and Ilya, and this is how the texting begins between the two as they're undercover, and that ends at second. I guess you can call it sex scene, which again to me was not as bad as I assumed it would be when I first heard about this show. So uh,
Right.
I
Yeah.
love.
I mean, it was really playful. Oh God, it was so great. Did
I think it's so, but it's
you
fine.
kind of feel like you're in the room with them, like seeing all this romance go on, banter, and you know how like when he was saying, "You have a phone? You have a phone? No, you have a phone." I can't do a Russian like accent, but he's so cute.
Yeah,
And then Shane is just standing there with his hands in his pocket and being kind of like,
yeah,
closed off and passive. And he's like, "Yeah, come on, let's go." The fact
yeah,
that they put texting is such a huge part of the entire series, which is
yeah,
so great because then you get to see their relationship and things like that. So
yeah,
it's okay when 6 months goes by, a
yeah,
year goes by or something like that, because you still feel somewhat connected. And then I
right.
always feel like, did stuff happen in between the time that we just didn't see, or you kind of like, you're
Mm,
curious kind of about that too.
yep. All right. Yep. Um, so 2 weeks later, we head to Boston, where, as you all know, they're supposed to meet up at, but they're snowed in. The first thing I noticed, just from being around baseball teams, is I was surprised that they flew commercial and not like their private, team charter. I was
True.
when I was just sitting in the airport, I'm just like, oh, this is interesting. I just assumed that major league teams get off the bus at the Cubs baseball team, get off the bus straight on the runway. They don't even go through security or none. They just they
Right.
don't they boom boom. So maybe this is how hockey does it. I don't know, but
Or
I
maybe
guess
it wasn't in the filming budget. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? I mean, maybe that was it too. I don't know. Like,
that's
yeah,
right.
that was a good point because it wouldn't have. It was such a nice scene. You know what I
Right,
mean? And he was so like disappointed that there was 2 feet of snow.
yep,
In Montreal. That's why he couldn't get there.
yep. So the game gets snowed out, which is interesting. An indoor game being snowed out, but a game gets snowed out. So their plans to hook up won't work at all. Um, um, Shane is in the locker room. They're texting, and maybe next time, whatever. the funniest part to me was when Hayden, his teammate, comes over and says, "Hey, my wife is dying to be the first out of all the women and girlfriends to feed you." I'm like, "Is that a thing? Like, who gets to be the first to feed?"
Probably.
I'm assuming it is. I'm like, wow, that's a thing. Like, who gets to be the first to feed him? And then he said he's on a macro or a microbiotic diet. Never heard of it. And he's like, I'm on a
It
macrobiotic.
might have been one of those diets that came out a couple of years ago, kind of thing. But remember when he was at like, I don't even know what that includes, but it must include like salmon and brown rice because remember the mom ordered that for him. It was like, yeah, I
Yeah,
ordered your food. So maybe I don't know what a macro diet is, and I was just like, there's a lot of I think the ginger ale is hysterical. Okay.
yeah,
Canada Dry. I mean, they must be making massive sales from that Canada
yeah.
Dry now. But yeah, that was kind of nice. I guess, I mean, if you think about it, the teammates, they're so close. So I very much imagine that probably the wives and girlfriends are somewhat
Yeah.
close. I mean, some probably don't get along at all, which is
Right.
just normal for women. But yeah, I mean, I just think that I don't know. There's a lot when you think about that. There's so much to it.
Yeah.
I'll talk about that afterwards. So go ahead.
So Ilya, the game is canceled. Shane goes to have dinner with Hayden, his teammate. Ilya goes home, opens the door, and I don't want to say her name wrong. Uh,
Svetlana.
who I love, adorable by the
Oh
way,
my
love,
god, I
gorgeous,
love her. Are you kidding me?
gorgeous. Uh, she's in the house out of nowhere, surprises Ilya. She's like, "What are you doing here?" He's like, "Oh, the game was canceled." How do you know the game was canceled? It's on the news, duh. But basically, he jumps in her arms and they make out and whatever. But at this point, I was confused. Now I'm really confused. Like, wait a minute, does he have a girlfriend? Does he have a wife? Like at that point, I'm just like, something does that. Like, I was confused.
Yeah.
Like, does he have a girlfriend? Does he have a wife? Yeah, married, whatever? Because she's gorgeous. Like
Oh
being
my god.
God,
She is a goddess. She is
gorgeous.
just
Yeah,
like I don't
yeah,
like someone created this beautiful creature. You know what I mean? I forget what her nationality is, but I know that she's half Tahitian. So, or like, is her mom
yeah,
from Tahiti or something like that? I mean, she's just absolute perfection. If
yeah,
anything, if like men are watching this and they're like, maybe they don't want to watch Shane, but like just to watch Svetlana, she's a perfect character. She's
yeah,
super smart. She knows
yeah,
everything about hockey. She totally gets Ilya. Like she's a true like ride or die friend to him. You know what I mean? And I think she understands that um and it goes on to later, but like who he is and what he is, and this is what they have together. I think
yeah.
it's really, really special. But she is like ethereal looking.
Right.
I
Yeah.
mean, she's a little skinny, I think,
Mhm.
so we don't see too much of her if you think about it. You
I didn't think so
we
at
do
all.
see her, but you see maybe her back or her
Yeah.
legs or something. So there
Right.
isn't any kind of gratuitous like nakedness of
Yeah.
her. You know what I mean? Which is just but she's so crazy smart.
Yeah.
It's just a really great character. I mean, oh God, she must appeal to many people. But that goes to like again, sexual fluidity, right? Like the fact that he's just as like he's attracted to her, things like that, but it is different. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? I'm really, really glad that his character is I'm really not sure if you use the term bisexual or if you use the word queer. I'm a little like confused about what those if that maybe bisexual is like a older term, like older generation term, and queer is newer. But either way, just gonna call it like sexually fluid. He is, very much so that he's attracted to the person and
Yeah.
not necessarily like what gender they are.
Yeah.
It is a totally different relationship between him and she's like his confidant. She can say anything to him, and everybody needs that in their life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So
Just
we fast forward 4 months later. We're now in Las Vegas for the Rookie of the Year um, awards.
yeah.
Shane actually wins that. There's a receptionist downstairs. Shane is looking all over for Ilya, and he is nowhere to be found. I don't know. I don't know. I'm assuming he texts him, and he finds him up on the rooftop. Uh, And Shane sort of is standoffish. And what I did not understand, and I probably missed it, but so Shane goes off on him like, "Hey, what's your problem? You beat me in everything." I think to myself, he just won the Rookie of the Year. He won the last two games. So like,
Yeah.
Shane, technically you beat him in almost everything. But he's just going off and off and off. And I at that point I'm like, wait, is the fact that the girl came back around is now is he having second thoughts or whatever? And so that's what I'm thinking to myself, like, uh, you know, uh, what's happening, what's going on. But then he talks about he has to go home to Russia in 3 days.
Yeah.
And I don't think Shane knows about the brother and the father and whatever. So at that point, I'm like, oh, now I get it. Like, I would be depressed too. Based on what I know about Russia, I would be depressed too. So Shane's like, well, hey, I guess I'll see you next season. And he walks down by the door and holds his hand out. Ilya, comes off the ledge down to where Shane is at the rooftop by the door. And he makes out with him. Shane makes out with him back, hand and everything. But then all of a sudden,
Totally.
pushes him right there. What are you doing? We're in tuxedos. Somebody can see us. I'm like, dude, you were just into this. You were just like going, you were just into it, whatever. And then he pulls away, and then that's the end of that episode. But what do you think about that rooftop scene?
So it starts, if you remember, it started with a handshake when they first met. It ended with a handshake too. So, I mean, I think that's him putting his hand out again. But before he gets to the rooftop, remember, Scott Hunter comes over to him and says, "Where's your boy, Rosenoff?" And so Shane was like, "What? He's not my boy," kind of thing. But that has to do with like Shane's personality a little bit. Like, what does he know? But all this time, because he is young, he's drinking ginger ale and because he's on that macrobiotic diet, right? So then when he has some shots with the other hockey players, he does have a little bit of courage then. So I think that he wouldn't be as aggressive when he went upstairs on the roof or assertive about his feelings because they kind of like came out, in an aggressive way. Like it's not always about you kind of thing. I think, but I was glad that Ilya was like, you know, he's not really, Ilya really doesn't want to say. I don't think he wants to really say anything bad about his homeland because I feel like he has a lot of pride in being Russian, but it's just such a complicated thing with how his brother and his dad, they're assholes. They're like the worst. And then of course, there's the question of like, it's like he has the weight of Russia on his shoulders. Like he's on a team, but if he loses, it's his dad blames him. Do you know what I mean? So there's a lot to it. So I think that if Shane was really paying attention, he might have like understood a little bit that going home to Russia is not like I'm going home to Montreal. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot more complicated things than that. And I think that's what that was about. I don't think it was about that Shane was MVP. I don't think so. You know what I mean? Like Shane, it was easy for him. It's like a cheap shot. It's easier for him to take it like that, but it's much more to it. And then when he was just like, okay, goes over there and shakes hands and then they start kissing. And then, like you said, Shane has this reality of like, oh my God. And then how they say, see you next season. That's kind of their running thing is that they'll say that, that particular line. But I just thought, oh my God, it was so good. And that's just episode 1, people. Like there's so much to it. Just but you could just it's so great.
So
I mean, why do you think it's so complicated? Go ahead.
I was going to say favorite parts of the show. I was going to say favorite parts of the show. But what was your question, though? What was your question?
Oh, why do you think it's so complicated with like hockey or major sports like that to like come out and say that you're gay? Why is that so?
I think
why
that people
is it
don't
such a massive deal?
I think that people don't want to lose half of their fan base. We're so divided, especially now. We're so divided now that we sort of have this side. I feel like people don't want to lose. Right now, athletes have the best of both worlds because everybody is pretty much on their side. But I think to go this route, you basically would be somewhat losing some of your fan base. You might be afraid of, even though I think you'll get more sponsors, you may think you might lose some sponsors. You don't want to be the subject of somebody's or people's tweeting about you or whatever.
Oh,
So
sure. Yeah.
I feel like people want to just stay neutral, and they just don't want to, lose half their fan base. I don't think they would, by the way, but that's my
I don't
opinion.
think so either because like I think that people would kind of embrace it a little bit more, but it probably has to do with coming out, that idea of coming out and realizing to yourself that you feel this way about uh the same gender. So that's probably somewhat complicated, I don't know, in your mind, wrestling with that. And then I mean at the end of the day, um well, it's different because they're like in the public and they're out there, but at the end of the day for like a normal person, I'm not thinking about somebody else's sexual, preference. I'm
Yeah,
not. It's like their business. It's like whatever they're doing. I'm like, have fun. You know what I mean? So it's, I don't know. I really hope that this heated rivalry really makes a difference and maybe more people will come out. Like, would it be as controversial if you had a women's hockey team, okay, and two of them came out and said that they prefer women? You know what I mean? Like, why is it somehow easier? Is it easier, you know what I mean, for people to understand that? Do you know
many,
what I'm
many,
saying? I just wish it was like,
but many players in the WNBA are openly gay in the WNBA. So it's not a big deal when it comes to the women. I got because you see all the time on their Twitter, social media. Um,
yeah.
when the women's sports, they are leading the way as they always do. But I got to tell you though, I think that the response to heated rivalry again, I was encouraged to watch this show after being like anti this show because I watched the male sports podcasters and commentators talking so highly about it. I feel like this show shows that the tide is somewhat turning because I could never imagine hearing about this on an NFL football show. Heard about heated rivalry. The fact that me and my uncle even watched it and talk about it now, it's like 10 years ago. I couldn't see that happening. So I do kind of feel like now, just the response to this show, I think it would be okay in my opinion. So
Yeah. I mean, I hope it's making such a. Didn't you say the other day that like now it's being, first of all, when this was first put out, was it like a week? Like 1 week you'd see one episode. So it was like 6 weeks basically, where we were blessed that we could just like watch the entire thing. So the podcasters, those guys, empty netters, remember you were saying, watch these things like that. I just happened to come across these empty netters and
yeah,
podcast and how they were just so excited and so thrilled about the show. And so that was like really interesting. It's
yeah,
obviously they are hockey all day long,
yeah,
but this is like a different aspect of it.
yeah,
I don't know. It's just I wonder how it's playing. It's in Europe now, right? So I
yeah,
wonder how it's playing in other parts of the world. And it just has such a mass appeal. And I really hope that people are open minded enough. If you're
yeah,
not, you're like missing out. Your world is smaller. You know what I mean? It just like
yeah,
it has such appeal to it. I mean, I still go back and think about Brokeback Mountain and what a film that was, and how it was just a love story. Like at the end of the day, that it happened to have two men in there. Um, but it was just so heartbreaking. I think that particular movie was, it still bothers me, like how heartbreaking it was. But this is different. You know what I mean? This is like maybe people were more ready for this,
yeah,
but and going back to the music in this show is
yeah,
so well done and
yeah.
so catchy. And all of these like actors and actresses, they are unknown. Oh, except for Francois, who plays Scott Hunter. He's
Okay.
been he's been acting for like 20 years or something like that. Remember he was in Schitt's Creek. He
Oh
played
yeah,
like a little love with David, so he was in, that's where I remember like
yeah,
seeing him. But it's nice that it's like, and they have said for season 2 it's going to be much the same. So
yeah,
they're going to have like Canadian actors, and and good for them.
So your favorite part of this episode?
Oh my god! Wow. Um, I the part where like Shane comes to his room the one time that he's next to Scott Hunter, and just
Yeah,
how he like, Ilya kind of takes his time, or what seems to answer the door, and then Shane just pushes in like, oh my
yeah,
god, what, like, why are you leaving me out there, kind of thing. And then he was just like, he could say his like piece. I mean, he's not a pushover either. He'll say how he feels, and then he's just like, he'll forget it quickly, like, fuck, let's go. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
I think that was a favorite part, because then you could see like what a great couple they kind of
yeah,
like make. Yeah,
yeah.
that was my favorite part, I would say.
So my favorite parts are uh Ilya's like condescending statements to just have you die. Like I'm just,
Yes.
when they wanted to change the number, when they wanted to make a plan to go and have sex or whatever, and Shane didn't know like where we do this at, and he goes, "What are you, homeless?" Like I'm just, or at the door knocking, and he runs in like, "What? Are you being chased?" Like I just loved his comedic. I just thought it was so cool. But I gotta say, the part that I thought I would hate, while I was watching it, the first like sex part of it, I gotta admit that did not disgust me at all. Like I thought it would. Me
Yeah.
watching it all, did not at all. I thought it was just so tastefully done, and
Yeah.
it's realistic that I, if the two top MLB draft picks, number one and number two, were having some kind of secret love romance, I would be watching. Like I would want to see
Yeah.
this. It would be a big freaking deal. And the way this show is set up, you want to. Oh, it's just so scandalous that the two best players in the league are having sex, and you're just like, oh my god, like
Yeah.
So the part that I thought I would hate, I did not hate. And matter of fact, I'm intrigued by it just because it's like the idea of the two top players in the sport having sex is crazy to me. Like just like wow. So my favorite part. I'm ready for episode 2 to discuss it
Yeah,
because
like so many questions after that. You know what I mean? And here's the thing about as forward as Ilya is, and how like he's more aggressive and he does more things to it, he has a lot more to lose. I feel like you're talking about him if he going home to Russia, that's a very scary place for somebody who is sexually fluid. Shane is
yeah,
more worried about his like, how will this affect my representation, things like that. And also he's a little unsure about, he's still very, very young, in this, which is hysterical, because I think this whole thing was shot in like 6 weeks.
okay,
But it's under 2 months for sure. But they do such a good job of like seeing them age like a little bit. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Oh my god, episode 2. I'm like,
yeah.
I don't do you have like a favorite episode? I don't know if I do. I don't know. I mean,
I do.
5 was like really good, you
Good.
know.
But, it's been great having a discussion with you. I'm glad I got you into it.
Oh my god, totally. I'm obsessed. I like there should be like a support group for us, talking about it all the time. Here's what I can't wait to get to work and be like, I'm going to be saying lines from the show to see who's actually watched it. Do you know what I
Right.
mean? I'm going
Yeah.
to, okay, like how he says okay or whatever, or yes, just
Yep.
just to see. So look out for that. Every once in a while I'll be like, I'll say a line. This has been
All
really
right.
fun. Thank you for inviting me.
Our review of episode 1 from some baseball loving fans, and we're going to do episode 2 next. So we'll catch you all then.
Okay, thanks. Bye.